CryptoNote v2.0 Nicolas van Saberhagen October 17, 2013 1 Introduction Bitcoin 1. Has been a successful implementation of the concept of Page 2P electronic cash. Both professionals and the general public have come to appreciate the convenient combination of public transactions and proof of work as a trust model. Today, the user base of electronic cash is growing at a steady pace. Customers are attracted to low fees and the anonymity provided by electronic cash, and merchants value its predicted and decentralized emission. Bitcoin has effectively proved that electronic cash can be as simple as paper money and as convenient as credit cards. Unfortunately, Bitcoin suffers from several deficiencies. For example, the system's distributed nature is inflexible, preventing the implementation of new features until almost all of the network users update their clients. Some critical flaws that cannot be fixed rapidly deter Bitcoin's widespread propagation. In such inflexible models, it is more efficient to roll out a new project rather than perpetually fix the original project. In this paper, we study and propose solutions to the main deficiencies of Bitcoin. We believe that a system taking into account the solutions we propose will lead to a healthy competition among different electronic cash systems. We also propose our own electronic cash, CryptoNote, a name emphasizing the next breakthrough in electronic cash. 2 Bitcoin drawbacks and some possible solutions. 2.1 Traceability of transactions. Privacy and anonymity are the most important aspects of electronic cash. Peer-to-peer payments seek to be concealed from third parties' view, a distinct difference when compared with traditional banking. In particular, T. Okamoto and Kayata described 6 criteria of ideal electronic cash, which included privacy. Relationship between the user and his purchases must be untraceable by anyone. 30. From their description, we derive 2 properties which a fully anonymous electronic cash model must satisfy in order to comply with the requirements outlined by Okamoto and Ota. Untraceability. For each incoming transaction, all possible senders are equally probable. Unlinkability. For any 2 outgoing transactions, it is impossible to prove they were sent to the same person. Unfortunately, Bitcoin does not satisfy the untraceability requirement. Since all the transactions that take place between the network's participants are public, any transaction can be unambiguously traced to a unique origin and final recipient. Even if 2 participants exchange funds in an indirect way, a properly engineered pathfinding method will reveal the origin and final recipient. It is also suspected that Bitcoin does not satisfy the second property. Some researchers stated, 33, 35, 29, 31, that a careful blockchain analysis may reveal a connection between the users of the Bitcoin network and their transactions, although a number of methods are disputed. 25. It is suspected that a lot of hidden personal information can be extracted from the public database. Bitcoin's failure to satisfy the 2 properties outlined above leads us to conclude that it is not an anonymous but a pseudo-anonymous electronic cash system. Users were quick to develop solutions to circumvent this shortcoming. 2 direct solutions were laundering services. 2. And the development of distributed methods. 3. 4. Both solutions are based on the idea of mixing several public transactions and sending them through some intermediary address, which in turn suffers the drawback of requiring a trusted third party. Recently, a more creative scheme was proposed by I. Myers et al. 28. Zeracoin. Zeracoin utilizes a cryptographic one-way accumulators and zero-knowledge proofs which permit users to convert bitcoins to Zeracoins and spend them using anonymous proof of ownership instead of explicit public key-based digital signatures. However, such knowledge proofs have a constant but inconvenient size, about 30 kilobytes, based on today's Bitcoin limits, which makes the proposal impractical. Authors admit that the protocol is unlikely to ever be accepted by the majority of Bitcoin users. 5. 2.2 The proof-of-work function. Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto described the majority decision and hardware described previously. Suppose that the global hash rate decreases significantly. Even for a moment, he can now use his mining power to fork the chain and double spend. As we shall see later in this article, it is not unlikely for the previously described event to take place. 2.3 Irregular emission. Bitcoin has a predetermined emission rate. Each solved block produces a fixed amount of coins. Approximately every 4 years this reward is halved. The original intention was to create a limited smooth emission with exponential decay, but in fact we have a piecewise linear emission function whose breakpoints may cause problems to the Bitcoin infrastructure. When the breakpoint occurs, miners start to receive only half of the value of their previous reward. The absolute difference between 12.5 and 6.25 BTC projected for the year 2020, may seem tolerable. However, when examining the 50 to 25 BTC drop that took place on November 28, 2012, felt inappropriate for a significant number of members of the mining community. Figure 1 shows a dramatic decrease in the network's hash rate in the end of November, exactly when the halving took place. This event could have been the perfect moment for the malevolent individual described in the proof of work function section to carry out a double spending attack. 36. Figure 1. Bitcoin hashrate chart. Source: http://bitcoin.sipa.be. 2.4 Hard-coded constants. Bitcoin has many hard-coded limits, where some are natural elements of the original design. For example, block frequency, maximum amount of money supply, number of confirmations, whereas others seem to be artificial constraints. It is not so much the limits, as the inability of quickly changing through them if necessary that causes the main drawbacks. Unfortunately, it is hard to predict when the constants may need to be changed, and replacing them may lead to terrible consequences. A good example of a hard-coded limit change leading to disastrous consequences is the block size limit set to 250 KB1. This limit was sufficient to hold about 10,000 standard transactions. In early 2013, this limit had almost been reached and an agreement was reached to increase the limit. The change was implemented in wallet version 0.8 and ended with a 24 blocks chain split and a successful double spend attack. 9. While the bug was not in the Bitcoin protocol, but rather in the database engine, it could have been easily caught by a simple stress test if there was no artificially introduced block size limit. Constants also act as a form of centralization point. Despite the peer-to-peer nature of Bitcoin, an overwhelming majority of nodes use the official reference client. 10. Developed by a small group of people. This group makes the decision to implement changes to the protocol, and most people accept these changes irrespective of their correctness. Some decisions caused heated discussions and even calls for boycott. 11. Which indicates that the community and the developers may disagree on some important points. It therefore seems logical to have a protocol with user-configurable and self-adjusting variables as a possible way to avoid these problems. 2.5 Bulky scripts. The scripting system in Bitcoin is a heavy and complex feature. It potentially allows one to create sophisticated transactions. 12. But some of its features are disabled due to security concerns, and some have never even been used. 13. The script, including both senders and receivers parts, for the most popular transaction in Bitcoin looks like this: op.op hash 160 op equal verify op checksig. The script is 164 bytes long, whereas its only purpose is to check if the receiver possessed the secret key required to verify his signature. 3. The CryptoNote technology. Now that we have covered the limitations of the Bitcoin technology, we will concentrate on presenting the features of CryptoNote for untraceable transactions. In this section, we propose a scheme of fully anonymous transactions satisfying both untraceability and unlinkability conditions. An important feature of our solution is its autonomy. The sender is not required to cooperate with other users or a trusted third party to make his transactions. Hence, each participant produces a cover traffic independently. 4.1 Literature review. Our scheme relies on the cryptographic primitive called a group signature, first presented by D. Chum and D. Van Haste. 19. It allows a user to sign his message on behalf of the group. After signing the message, the user provides, for verification purposes, not his own single public one. This is so-called soft limit, the reference client restriction for creating new blocks. Hard maximum of possible block size was 1 megabyte for key, but the keys of all the users of his group. A verifier is convinced that the real signer is a member of the group, but cannot exclusively identify the signer. The original protocol required a trusted third party, called a group manager, and he was the only one who could trace the signer. The next version, called a ring signature, introduced by Rivest et al. in 34, was an autonomous scheme without group manager and anonymity revocation. Various modifications of this scheme appeared later. Linkable ring signature. 26, 27, 17. Allowed to determine if two signatures were produced by the same group member. Traceable ring signature. 24, 23. Limited excessive anonymity by providing possibility to trace the signer of two messages with respect to the same meta information or tag in terms of. 24. A similar cryptographic construction is also known as ad hoc group signature. 16, 38. It emphasizes the arbitrary group formation, whereas group ring signature schemes rather imply a fixed set of members. For the most part, our solution is based on the work Traceable Ring Signature by E. Fujisaki and K. Suzuki. 24. In order to distinguish the original algorithm and our modification, we will call the latter a one-time ring signature, stressing the user's capability to produce only one valid signature under his private key. We weakened the traceability property and kept the linkability only to provide one-timeness. The public key may appear in many foreign verifying sets, and the private key can be used for generating a unique anonymous signature. In case of a double spend attempt, these two signatures will be linked together, but revealing the signer is not necessary for our purposes. 4.2 Definitions. 4.2. 1. Elliptic curve parameters is our base signature algorithm. We chose to use the fast scheme EDSA, which is developed and implemented by D.J. Bernstein et al. 18. Like Bitcoin's ECDSA, it is based on the elliptic curve discrete logarithm problem, so our scheme could also be applied to Bitcoin in future. Common parameters are Q, a prime number, Q equals 225519, D, an element of FQ, D equals 121,665/121,666, E, an elliptic curve equation, x2 plus y2 equals 1 plus dx2y2, G, a base point, G equals x 4/5, L, a prime order of the base point, L equals 2252 plus 27742317773735358519377908836484993. H's, a cryptographic hash function, 0, 1, FQ, HP, a deterministic hash function E, FQ, E, FQ, 4, 2. Terminology. Enhanced privacy requires a new terminology which should not be confused with Bitcoin entities. Private key is a standard elliptic curve private key, a number A, 1, L1. Public key is a standard elliptic curve public key, a point A equals AG. One-time keeper is a pair of private and public keys. 5. Private user key is a pair, A, B, of two different private keys. Tracking key is a pair, A, B, of private and public key, where B equals BG and A6 equals B. Public user key is a pair, A, B, of two public keys derived from A, B. Standard address is a representation of a public user key given into human-friendly string with error correction. Truncated address is a representation of the second half, point B, of a public user key given into human-friendly string with error correction. The transaction structure remains similar to the structure in Bitcoin. Every user can choose several independent incoming payments, transactions outputs, sign them with the corresponding private keys and send them to different destinations. Contrary to Bitcoin's model, where a user possesses unique private and public key, in the proposed model a sender generates a one-time public key based on the recipient's address and some random data. In this sense, an incoming transaction for the same recipient is sent to a one-time public key, not directly to a unique address, and only the recipient can recover the corresponding private part to redeem his funds. Using his unique private key, the recipient can spend the funds using a ring signature, keeping his ownership and actual spending anonymous. The details of the protocol are explained in the next subsections. 4.3 Unlinkable payments. Classic Bitcoin addresses, once being published, become unambiguous identifier for incoming payments, linking them together and tying to the recipient's pseudonyms. If someone wants to receive an untied transaction, he should convey his address to the sender by a private channel. If he wants to receive different transactions which cannot be proven to belong to the same owner, he should generate all the different addresses and never publish them in his own pseudonym. Public private Alice Carol Bob's adder 1 Bob's adder 2 Bob's key 1 Bob's key 2 Bob figure 2. Traditional Bitcoin keys transactions model. We propose a solution allowing a user to publish a single address and receive unconditional unlinkable payments. The destination of each CryptoNote output by default is a public key, derived from recipient's address and sender's random data. The main advantage against Bitcoin is that every destination key is unique by default, unless the sender uses the same data for each of his transactions to the same recipient. Hence, there is no such issue as address reuse by design, and no observer can determine if any transactions were sent to a specific address or linked two addresses together. 6 Public private Alice Carol 1 time key 1 time key 1 time key Bob Bob's address Bob's key figure 3. CryptoNote keys transactions model. First, the sender performs a Diffie-Hellman exchange to get a shared secret from his data and half of the recipient's address. Then he computes a one-time destination key, using the shared secret and the second half of the address. Two different TEC keys are required from the recipient for these two steps, so a standard CryptoNote address is nearly twice as large as a Bitcoin wallet address. The receiver also performs a Diffie-Hellman exchange to recover the corresponding secret key. A standard transaction sequence goes as follows. 1. Alice wants to send a payment to Bob, who has published his standard address. She unpacks the address and gets Bob's public key, A. B2. Alice generates a random R1, L1, and computes a one-time public key P equals H's, RA, G plus B3. Alice uses P as a destination key for the output and also packs value R equals RG. As a part of the Diffie-Hellman exchange, somewhere into the transaction, note that she can create other outputs with unique public keys. Different recipients' keys I, B, imply different pi even with the same R transaction TX public key TX output amount destination key R equals RGP equals H's, RA, G plus B receiver's public key sender's random data R, A, B. Figure 4. Standard transaction structure 4. Alice sends the transaction 5. Bob checks every passing transaction with his private key, A, B, and computes P0 equals H's, R, G plus B if Alice's transaction 4 with Bob as the recipient was among them. Then R equals ARG equals RA and P0 equals P76. Bob can recover the corresponding one-time private key, X equals H's, R, plus B, so as P equals XG. He can spend this output at any time by signing a transaction with X transaction TX public key TX output amount P destination key 0 equals H's, R, G plus BG one-time public key X equals H's, R, plus B one-time private key receiver's private key, A, B, RP0 equals P figure 5. Incoming transaction check. As a result, Bob gets incoming payments associated with one-time public keys which are unlinkable for a spectator. Some additional notes. When Bob recognizes his transactions, see Step 5, he practically uses only half of his private information, A, B. This pair, also known as the tracking key, can be passed to a third party, Carol. Bob can delegate her the processing of new transactions. Bob doesn't need to explicitly trust Carol, because she can't recover the one-time secret key P without Bob's full private key, A, B. This approach is useful when Bob lacks bandwidth or computation power, smartphones, hardware wallets etc. In case Alice wants to prove she sent a transaction to Bob's address, she can either disclose R or use any kind of zero-knowledge protocol to prove she knows R, for example by signing the transaction with R. If Bob wants to have an audit-compatible address where all incoming transactions are linkable, he can either publish his tracking key or use a truncated address. That address represents only one public key B, and the remaining part required by the protocol is derived from it as follows: A equals H's, B, and A equals H's, B, G. In both cases every person is able to recognize all of Bob's incoming transaction, but, of course, none can spend the funds enclosed within them without the secret key B. 4.4 One-time ring signatures. A protocol based on one-time ring signatures allows users to achieve unconditional unlinkability. Unfortunately, ordinary types of cryptographic signatures permit to trace transactions to their respective senders and receivers. Our solution to this deficiency lies in using a different signature type than those currently used in electronic cash systems. We will first provide a general description of our algorithm with no explicit reference to electronic cash. A one-time ring signature contains 4 algorithms. Gen, SIG, var, LNK. Gen takes public parameters and outputs an EC pair, P, X, and a public key ISIG, takes a message M, a set S0 of public keys, pi, I6 equals S, a pair, Ps, XS, and outputs a signature Greek letter sigma and a set S equals S0, Ps8 var, takes a message M, a set S, a signature Greek letter sigma and outputs true or false. LNK, takes a set I equals 2, a signature Greek letter sigma and outputs linked or indep. The idea behind the protocol is fairly simple. A user produces a signature which can be checked by a set of public keys rather than a unique public key. The identity of the signer is indistinguishable from the other users whose public keys are in the set until the owner produces a second signature using the same keeper. Private keys X0, Xi, XN public keys P0, Pi, PN ring signed signature verify figure 6, ring signature anonymity. Gen, the signer picks a random secret key X1, L1, and computes the corresponding public key P equals XG. Additionally, he computes another public key I equals XHP, P, which we will call the key image, SIG. The signer generates a one-time ring signature with a non-interactive zero-knowledge proof using the techniques from 21. He selects a random subset S0 of n from the other user's public keys pi, his own keeper, x, p, and key image I let 0sn be signer's secret index in S, so that his public key is piece. He picks a random key I equals 0n, n, we I equals 0n, I6 equals S, from 1L, and applies the following transformations. Li equals kig, if I equals S kig plus we pi, if I6 equals S re equals key HP, pi, if I equals S key HP, pi, plus we, if I6 equals S. The next step is getting the non-interactive challenge, C equals H's, M, L1, Ln, R1, Rn. Finally the signer computes the response, C equals we, if I6 equals S CPNI equals 0 C mod L, if I equals S re equals key, if I6 equals SQSCSX mod L, if I equals S. The resulting signature is Greek letter sigma equals I, C1, Cn, R1, Rn9 var. The verifier checks the signature by applying the inverse transformations, L0I equals rig plus C pi R0I equals re HP, pi, plus Ci. Finally, the verifier checks if PNI equals 0 C equals H's, M, L00, L0n, R00, R0n, mod L. If this equality is correct, the verifier runs the algorithm LNK, otherwise the verifier rejects the signature, LNK. The verifier checks if I has been used in past signatures. These values are stored in the set I. Multiple uses imply that two signatures were produced under the same secret key, the meaning of the protocol. By applying L transformations, the signer proves that he knows such X that at least 1 pi equals XG. To make this proof non-repeatable, we introduce the key image as I equals XHP, P. The signer uses the same coefficients, re, C, to prove almost the same statement. He knows such X that at least 1 HP, pi, equals I, X1. If the mapping Xi is an injection, 1, nobody can recover the public key from the key image and identify the signer. 2. The signer cannot make two signatures with different I's and the same X. A full security analysis is provided in Appendix A 4.5 Standard CryptoNote transaction by combining both methods, unlinkable public keys and untraceable ring signature. Bob achieves new level of privacy in comparison with the original Bitcoin scheme. It requires him to store only one private key, A, B, and publish A, B, to start receiving and sending anonymous transactions. While validating each transaction, Bob additionally performs only two elliptic curve multiplications and one addition per output to check if a transaction belongs to him. For his every output, Bob recovers a one-time keeper, pi, and stores it in his wallet. Any inputs can be circumstantially proved to have the same owner only if they appear in a single transaction. In fact, this relationship is much harder to establish due to the one-time ring signature. With a ring signature, Bob can effectively hide every input among somebody else's. All possible spenders will be equiprobable. Even the previous owner, Alice, has no more information than any observer. When signing his transaction, Bob specifies n foreign outputs with the same amount as his output, mixing all of them without the participation of other users. Bob himself, as well as anybody else, does not know if any of these payments have been spent. An output can be used in thousands of signatures as an ambiguity factor and never as a target of hiding. The double spend check occurs in the LNK phase when checking against the used key images set. Bob can choose the ambiguity degree on his own. N equals 1 means that the probability he has spent the output is 50% probability. N equals 99 gives 1%. The size of the resulting signature increases linearly as O, n plus 1, so the improved anonymity costs to Bob extra transaction fees. He also can set n equals 0 and make his ring signature to consist of only one element. However, this will instantly reveal him as a spender 10 transaction TX input output 0, output output and key image signatures ring signature destination key output 1 destination key output and foreign transactions senders output destination key one-time keeper one-time private key I equals XHP, P, X figure 7. Ring signature generation in a standard transaction 5 egalitarian proof of work. In this section we propose and ground the new proof of work algorithm. Our primary goal is to close the gap between CPU, majority, and GPU FPGA ASIC, minority, miners. It is appropriate that some users can have a certain advantage over others, but their investments should grow at least linearly with their power. More generally, producing special-purpose devices has to be as less profitable as possible. 5.1 Related works. The original Bitcoin proof-of-work protocol uses the CPU-intensive pricing function SHA-256. It mainly consists of basic logical operators and relies solely on the computational speed of processor, therefore is perfectly suitable for multi-core conveyor implementation. However, modern computers are not limited by the number of operations per second alone, but also by memory size, while some processors can be substantially faster than others. 8. Memory sizes are less likely to vary between machines. Memory-bound price functions were first introduced by Abadi et al. And were defined as functions whose computation time is dominated by the time spent accessing memory. 15. The main idea is to construct an algorithm allocating a large block of data, scratchpad, within memory that can be accessed relatively slowly, for example, RAM, and accessing an unpredictable sequence of locations within it. A block should be large enough to make preserving the data more advantageous than recomputing it for each access. The algorithm also should prevent internal parallelism, hence n simultaneous threads should require n times more memory at once. Dwork et al. 22. Investigated and formalized this approach, leading them to suggest another variant of the pricing function, bound. One more work belongs to F. Coelho 20, who 11 proposed the most effective solution, Hokkaido. To our knowledge, the last work based on the idea of pseudo-random searches in a big array is the algorithm known as script by C. Percival 32. Unlike the previous functions, it focuses on key derivation, and not proof-of-work systems. Despite this fact, script can serve our purpose. It works well as a pricing function in the partial hash conversion problems such as SHA-256 and Bitcoin. By now, script has already been applied in Litecoin, 14, and some other Bitcoin forks. However, its implementation is not really memory-bound. The ratio memory access time overall time is not large enough because each instance uses only 128 kilobytes. This permits GPU miners to be roughly 10 times more effective and continues to leave the possibility of creating relatively cheap but highly efficient mining devices. Moreover, the script construction itself allows a linear trade-off between memory size and CPU speed due to the fact that every block in the scratchpad is derived only from the previous. For example, you can store every second block and recalculate the others in a lazy way. That is only when it becomes necessary. The pseudo-random indexes are assumed to be uniformly distributed, hence the expected value of the additional blocks recalculations is 1 to n, where n is the number of iterations. The overall computation time increases less than by half because there are also time-independent, constant time operations such as preparing the scratchpad and hashing on every iteration. Saving 2/3 of the memory costs 1/3, n plus 1/3, 2, n equals n additional recalculations. 9/10 results in 1/10, n plus 1/10, 9, n equals 4.5 n. It is easy to show that storing only 1s of all blocks increases the time less than by a factor of s12. This in turn implies that a machine with a CPU 200 times faster than the modern chips can store only 320 bytes of the scratchpad. 5.2 The proposed algorithm. We propose a new memory-bound algorithm for the proof-of-work pricing function. It relies on random access to a slow memory and emphasizes latency dependence. As opposed to script, every new block, 64 bytes in length, depends on all the previous blocks. As a result, a hypothetical memory saver should increase his calculation speed exponentially. Our algorithm requires about 2 MB per instance for the following reasons. 1. It fits in the L3 cache, per core, of modern processors, which should become mainstream in a few years. 2. A megabyte of internal memory is an almost unacceptable size for a modern ASIC pipeline. 3. GPUs may run hundreds of concurrent instances, but they are limited in other ways. GDDR5 memory is slower than the CPU L3 cache and remarkable for its bandwidth, not random access speed. 4. Significant expansion of the scratchpad would require an increase in iterations, which in turn implies an overall time increase. Heavy calls in a trustless page 2P network may lead to serious vulnerabilities, because nodes are obliged to check every new block's proof of work. If a node spends a considerable amount of time on each hash evaluation, it can be easily DDoSed by a flood of fake objects with arbitrary work data, nonce values, 12.6 Further advantages 6.1 Smooth emission. The upper bound for the overall amount of CryptoNote digital coins is M supply equals 264 1 atomic units. This is a natural restriction based only on implementation limits, not on intuition such as N coins ought to be enough for anybody. To ensure the smoothness of the emission process, we use the following formula for block rewards. Base reward equals M supply A, 18, where A is amount of previously generated coins. 6.2 Adjustable parameter 6, 2, 1 Difficulty. CryptoNote contains a targeting algorithm which changes the difficulty of every block. This decreases the system's reaction time when the network hash rate is intensely growing or shrinking, preserving a constant block rate. The original Bitcoin method calculates the relation of actual and target time spent between the last 2016 blocks and uses it as the multiplier for the current difficulty. Obviously, this is unsuitable for rapid recalculations because of large inertia and results in oscillations. The general idea behind our algorithm is to sum all the work completed by the nodes and divide it by the time they have spent. The measure of work is the corresponding difficulty values in each block, but due to inaccurate and untrusted timestamps we cannot determine the exact time interval between blocks. A user can shift his timestamp into the future and the next time intervals might be improbably small or even negative. Presumably there will be few incidents of this kind, so we can just sort the timestamps and cut off the outliers. That is 20%. The range of the rest values is the time which was spent for 80% of the corresponding block. 6. 2 size limits. Users pay for storing the blockchain and shall be entitled to vote for its size. Every miner deals with the trade-off between balancing the costs and profit from the fees and sets his own soft limit for creating blocks. Also, the core rule for the maximum block size is necessary for preventing the blockchain from being flooded with bogus transaction. However, this value should not be hard-coded. Let Mn be the median value of the last n block sizes. Then the hard limit for the size of accepting blocks is 2 Mn. It averts the blockchain from bloating but still allows the limit to slowly grow with time if necessary. Transaction size does not need to be limited explicitly. It is bounded by the size of a block. And if somebody wants to create a huge transaction with hundreds of inputs/outputs or with a high ambiguity degree and ring signatures, he can do so by paying sufficient fee. 6. 2. 3 excess size penalty. A miner still has the ability to stuff a block full of his own zero-fee transactions up to its maximum size 2 MB. Even though only the majority of miners can shift the median value, there is still a 13 possibility to bloat the blockchain and produce an additional load on the nodes. To discourage malevolent participants from creating large blocks, we introduce a penalty function. New reward equals base reward. BLK size Mn12. This rule is applied only when BLK size is greater than minimal free block size, which should be close to max 10 kilobytes. Mn 110%. Miners are permitted to create blocks of usual size and even exceed it with profit when the overall fees surpass the penalty. But fees are unlikely to grow quadratically unlike the penalty value, so there will be an equilibrium. 6.3 Transaction scripts. CryptoNote has a very minimalistic scripting subsystem. A sender specifies an expression Greek letter phi equals f, x1, x2, xn, where n is the number of destination public keys, pi, ni equals 1. Only 5 binary operators are supported: min, max, sum, mul and cmp. When the receiver spends this payment, he produces 0kn signatures and passes them to transaction input. The verification process simply evaluates Greek letter phi with psi equals 1 to check for a valid signature for the public key pi, and xi equals 0. A verifier accepts the proof if Greek letter phi, 0. Despite its simplicity, this approach covers every possible case. Multi-threshold signature. For the Bitcoin style M out of N multi-signature, that is, the receiver should provide at least 0 Mn valid signatures. Greek letter phi equals x1 plus x2 plus xnm. For clarity, we are using common algebraic notation. The weighted threshold signature, some keys can be more important than other, could be expressed as Greek letter phi equals w1, x1 plus w2, x2 plus wn, xnwm. And scenario where the master key corresponds to Greek letter phi equals max, m, x, x1 plus x2 plus xn, m. It is easy to show that any sophisticated case can be expressed with these operators. That is, they form basis. Password protection. Possession of a secret password S is equivalent to the knowledge of a private key, deterministically derived from the password. K equals KDF, S. Hence, A receiver can prove that he knows the password by providing another signature under the key K. The sender simply adds the corresponding public key to his own output. Note that this method is much more secure than the transaction puzzle used in Bitcoin. 13. Where the password is explicitly passed in the inputs. Degenerate cases. Greek letter phi equals 1 means that anybody can spend the money. Greek letter phi equals 0 marks the output is not spendable forever. In the case when the output script combined with public keys is too large for a sender, he can use special output type, which indicates that the recipient will put this data in his input while the sender provides only a hash of it. This approach is similar to Bitcoin's pay-to-hash feature, but instead of adding new script commands we handled this case at the data structure level. 7. Conclusion. We have investigated the major flaws in Bitcoin and proposed some possible solutions. These advantageous features and our ongoing development make new electronic cash system CryptoNote a serious rival to Bitcoin, outclassing all its forks. 14. Nobel Prize laureate Friedrich Hayek in his famous work proves that the existence of concurrent independent currencies has a huge positive effect. Each currency issuer or developer in our case is trying to attract users by improving his product. Currency is like a commodity. It can have unique benefits and shortcomings, and the most convenient and trusted currency has the greatest demand. Suppose we had a currency excelling Bitcoin. It means that Bitcoin would develop faster and become better. The biggest support as an open source project would come from its own users, who are interested in it. We do not consider CryptoNote as a full replacement to Bitcoin. On the contrary, having two or more strong and convenient currencies is better than having just one. Running two and more different projects in parallel is the natural flow of electronic cash economics. 15. Security. We shall give a proof for our one-time ring signature scheme. At some point it coincides with the parts of the proof in 24, but we decided to rewrite them with a reference rather than to force a reader to rush about from one paper to another. These are the properties to be established. Linkability. Given all the secret keys, xi, ni equals 1 for a set S, it is impossible to produce n plus 1 valid signatures Greek letter sigma 1, Greek letter sigma 2, n plus 1, such that all of them pass the L and K phase, that is with n plus 1 different key images too. This property implies the double spending protection in the context of CryptoNote. Exculpability. Given set S, at most n1 corresponding private keys xi, excluding I equals j, and the image ij of the keys xj, it is impossible to produce a valid signature Greek letter sigma with ij. This property implies theft protection in the context of CryptoNote. Unforgeability. Given only a public key set S, it is impossible to produce a valid signature Greek letter sigma. Anonymity. Given a signature Greek letter sigma and the corresponding set S, it is impossible to determine the secret index j of the signer with a probability p. 1n. Linkability theorem 1. Our one-time ring signature scheme is linkable under the random oracle model. Proof. Suppose an adversary can produce n plus 1 valid signatures I with key images 2 6 equals ij for any I, j, 1n. Since S equals n, at least 1 2 6 equals psi hp, pi. For every I, consider the corresponding signature Greek letter sigma equals I, C1, Cn, R1, Rn. There, Greek letter sigma equals true. This means that L0I equals rig plus C pi R0I equals re HP, pi, plus C I P N I equals 1 C equals H's, M, L01, L0N, R01, R0N, mod L. The first two equalities imply log L0I equals re plus 6E log HP, pi, R0I equals re plus C log HP, pi, I, where log B informally denotes the discrete logarithm of b to the base a, as in 24. We note that at I, xi equals log HP, pi, I implies that all CS are uniquely determined. The third equality forces the adversary to find a preimage of H's to succeed in the attack, an event whose probability is considered to be negligible. Exculpability theorem 2. Our one-time ring signature scheme is exculpable under the discrete logarithm assumption in the random oracle model. 16. Proof. Suppose an adversary can produce a valid signature Greek letter sigma equals I, C1, Cn, R1, Rn, with I equals xjhp, pj, with given xi I equals 1, j1, j plus 1, n. Then, we can construct an algorithm A which solves the discrete logarithm problem in E, fq. Suppose inst equals g, p, e, fq, is a given instance of the DLP and the goal is to get S, such that p equals sg, using the standard technique, as in 24. A simulates the random and signing oracles and makes the adversary produce two valid signatures with pj equals p in the set S. Greek letter sigma equals I, C1, Cn, R1, Rn, and Greek letter sigma 0 equals I, C01, C0n, R01, comma R0n. Since I equals xjhp, pj, in both signatures we compute xj equals log hp, pj, I equals rjr0 joules c0 jcj mod la outputs xj because lj equals rjg plus cj pj equals r0 jg plus c0 jpj and pj equals p. Unforgeability. It has been shown in 24 that unforgeability is just an implication of both linkability and exculpability. Theorem 3. If a one-time ring signature scheme is linkable and exculpable, then it is unforgeable. Proof. Suppose an adversary can forge a signature for a given set S. Greek letter sigma 0 equals I0. Consider all valid signatures, produced by the honest signers, for the same message M in the set S. Greek letter sigma 1, Greek letter sigma 2. There are two possible cases. 1. I0. 2. Ni equals 1, which contradicts exculpability. 2. I06. 2. Ni equals 1, which contradicts linkability. Anonymity. Theorem 4. Our one-time ring signature scheme is anonymous under the decisional Diffie-Hellman assumption in the random oracle model. Proof. Suppose an adversary can determine the secret index J of the signer with a probability P equals 1n plus. Then, we can construct algorithm A which solves the decisional Diffie-Hellman problem in E, FQ, with the probability 1 2 plus 2. Let inst equals G1, G2, Q1, Q2, E, FQ. Be the instance of DDH and the goal to determine if log 1 Q1 equals log 2 Q2. A feeds the adversary with valid signature Greek letter sigma 0 equals I, where pj equals xjg1 equals Q1 and I equals Q2 and simulates oracle HP, returning G2 for query HP. pj, the adversary returns k as his guess for the index I equals psi HP, pi. If k equals j, then A returns 1, for yes. Otherwise a random R, 1, 0. The probability of the right choice is computed as in 24, 1 2 plus PR, 1 inst DDH, PR, 1 inst DDH, equals 1 2 plus PR, K equals J inst DDH, plus PR, K6 equals J inst DDH, PR, R equals 1, PR, K equals J inst DDH, PR, K6 equals J inst DDH, PR, R equals 0. Equals 1 2 plus 1n plus n 1n, comma 1 2 1n n 1n, 1 2 equals 1 2 plus 2. In fact, the result should be reduced by the probability of collision in H's, but this value is considered to be negligible. Notes on the hash function HP. We define HP as deterministic hash function E, FQ, E, FQ. None of the proofs demands HP to be an ideal cryptographic hash function. Its main purpose is to get a pseudo-random base for image key I equals xhp, xg, in some determined way, with fixed base, I equals xg2. The following scenario is possible. 17.1. Alice sends two standard transactions to Bob, generating one-time TX keys, P2 equals H's, R1A, G plus B and P1 equals H's, R2A, G plus B2. Bob recovers corresponding one-time private TX keys X1 and X2 and spends the outputs with valid signatures and images keys I1 equals X1 G2 and I2 equals X2 G2. 3. Now Alice can link these signatures, checking the equality I1 I2 equals H's, R1A, H's, R2A, G2. The problem is that Alice knows the linear correlation between public keys P1 and P2, and in case of fixed base G2 she also gets the same correlation between key images I1 and I2, replacing G2 with HP, XG2, which does not preserve linearity, fixes that flaw. For constructing deterministic HP we use algorithm presented in 37. Nicolas van Saberhagen 18 references. 1. http://bitcoin.org. 2. https://en.bitcoin.it wiki category, mixing services. 3. http://blog.zang.com/2012/07/secure-multiparty-bitcoin-anonymization. 4. https Bitcointalk.org index PHP topic equals 279,249.0. 5. http://msrvideo.vo.msecond.networkvideo/192,058/dl/192,058 PDF. 6. https://github.com/bitcoin/bip/blub/bip-0034. Mediawiki specification. 7. https://github.com Bitcoin bips blob master bip 0016 Mediawiki backwards compatibility. 8. https://en.bitcoin.it wiki mining hardware comparison. 9. https://github.com/bitcoin/bips/blub/master/bip-0050. Mediawiki. 10. http://luke-jr.org programs Bitcoin files charts branches HTML. 11. https://bitcointalk.org index PHP topic equals 196,259.0. 12. https://en.bitcoin.it wiki contracts. 13. https://en.bitcoin.it wiki script. 14. http://liticoin.org. 15. Martin Abadi, Michael Bros, and Ted Walber. Moderately hard memory bound functions in NDSS. 2003. 16. Benedita, Susan Hohenberger, and Ronald L. Rivest. Ad hoc group signatures from hijack keepers in Endemic's workshop on theft in e-commerce. 2005. 17. Man-Ho O, Sherman S. M. Chow, Willie Cicillo, and Patrick Pete Sang. Short linkable ring signatures revisited in EuroPKI, pages 101-115. 2006. 18. Daniel J. Bernstein, Niels Duif, Tanya Lange, Peter Schwab, and Boyin Yang. High-speed high-security signatures. J. Cryptographic Engineering. 2. 77-89. 2012. 19. David Chaum and Eugene Van Haste. Group signatures in Eurocrypt, pages 257-265. 1991. 20. Fabian Coelho, Exponential Memory-Bound Functions for Proof-of-Work Protocols. IACR Cryptology ePrint Archive. 2005. 356. 2005. 21. Ronald Kramer, Yvonne Damgard, and Barry Schoonmakers. Proofs of Partial Knowledge and Simplified Design of Witness Hiding Protocols. In Crypto, pages 174-187. 1994. 22. Cynthia Dwork, Andrew Goldberg, and Moni Noor, on memory-bound functions for fighting spam. In Crypto, pages 426-444. 2003. 23. Ichiro Fujisaki, Sublinear-Sized Traceable Ring Signatures Without Random Oracles. In CTRSA, pages 393-415. 2011. 19. 24. Ichiro Fujisaki and Koutaro Suzuki, Traceable Ring Signature, in Public Key Cryptography, pages 181-200. 2007. 25. Jez Garzik, Peer Review of Quantitative Analysis of the Full Bitcoin Transaction Graph https://gist.github.com/3901921. 2012. 26. Joseph K. Liu, Victor K. Wei, and Duncan S. Wong, Linkable Spontaneous Anonymous Group Signature for Ad Hoc Groups Extended Abstract. In ASISP, pages 325-335. 2004. 27. Joseph K. Liu and Duncan S. Wong, Linkable Ring Signatures, Security Models and New Schemes. In ICCSA. 2. Pages 614-623. 2005. 28. Ian Myers, Christina Garman, Matthew Green, and Aviel D. Rubin, Zeracoin, Anonymous Distributed eCash from Bitcoin, in IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy, pages 397-411. 2013. 29. Mitch Ober, Stefan Katzenbieser, and Kay Hamaker, Structure and Anonymity of the Bitcoin Transaction Graph, Future Internet. 5. 2. 237-250. 2013, 30, Tatsuaki Okamoto and Kazuo Oda, Universal Electronic Cash, in Crypto, pages 324-337, 1991, 31, Mark Santamaria Ortega, The Bitcoin Transaction Graph, Anonymity, Master's Thesis, Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, June 2013, 32, Colin Percival, Stronger Key Derivation via Sequential Memory Hard Functions, presented at BSDCon 09, May 2009, 33, Fergal Reed and Martin Harrigan, An Analysis of Anonymity in the Bitcoin System, Corrects, ABS 1107.4524, 2011, 34, Ronald L. Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Yael Tauman, How to Leak a Secret, in AsiaCrypt, pages 552-565, 2001, 35, Dorit Ron and Adi Shamir, Quantitative Analysis of the Full Bitcoin Transaction Graph, IACR Cryptology ePrint Archive, 2012, 584, 2012, 36, Meini Rosenfeld, Analysis of Hashrate-Based Double Spending 2012, 37, Machakulas, Rational Points on Certain Hyperelliptic Curves over Finite Fields, Bulletin of the Polish Academy of Sciences, Mathematics, 55, 2, 97-104, 2007, 38, Kai Hong Wu, Willie Cicillo, Emu, and Fanguo Zhuang, Ad hoc Group Signatures, in IWSEC, pages 120-135, 2006.